Hello, welcome to day 2 of our Andy Warhol printmaking project. So the first thing we should start with is your actual sketch of what you want to do. Notice the composition. I used up all of the space. That is super important, and I'll show you why in a minute. Another thing is writing. If you want to use any writing, I would love to see you add writing to your project. The only thing is that you will need to do it in a special way. The way that you will need to do it is you will need to do it using tracing paper. So I'm going to take a small sheet of tracing paper and I'm just going to put it on top of my coffee mug, and I'm going to do some writing on it. So I'm going to write, and I'm just going to write it the correct way. I'm going to say, no, not, start over. All right, I'm going to say, I love coffee. How about that? And I'll just do a heart for simplicity. And the reason why we need to do it this way is because if you don't do it this way, your writing when you do the print is going to look like it is actually backwards and inside out. So if you don't want it backwards and inside out, you will need to do this step. So I wrote, I love coffee with the tracing paper. Then I'm going to turn it upside down onto it, and you can already see that it looks like it's backwards. And then I'm just going to impress it by just kind of pressing kind of hard. Yeah. And you can't even see my lines now because I ran out of no, I don't. Okay, so I'm going to just press on top of anywhere where I have written the letters. So I'm going to go over it really dark and hard on the other side. And what I'm doing is I'm actually transferring the lettering to my drawing. Okay. So then when we lift it up, it should be backwards on our drawing, which it is. So that is actually what we did want to do. So I'm going to trace over it again so you can see it. And it looks like that. And the word coffee looks like that. All right. So then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to trace this onto your foam. You can tape it down if you want, if you're worried that it's going to move. But basically what you want to do is you want to trace this onto the foam. I'm not going to do the entire thing because it's going to take up too much time. It will take a little bit of time. But the thing that you need to know is I want to see a lot of small cutouts, which is why I added the additions to the coffee cup. So I'm going to end up cutting that part out of the foam, that is, and then I'm going to glue it onto my board. We're making what is called a collograph. Now a collograph is a homemade print, a print that you make yourself by cutting something out and putting it on a board, gluing it on a board. Now if you finish today, you still will not be able to print because it will still, you have to wait for the glue to dry. So try to get all of the pieces glued on today. That way next week, if you finish making your board, which you should, you will have an opportunity to print. If not, it will have to wait until next week. So I've got these interesting shapes on the end. Just tracing, I'm pressing really hard so that I can see it. Not because we're just going to print from this plate, but we're going to cut it out actually. So we're going to cut it out and glue it onto the cardboard that I have here. So I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to cut the handle off so that I might have a little bit of a space between there, and it'll also make it easier for me to cut out the inside so I don't have the inside. These kind of prints actually work really, really well because you have the spacing between all of the pieces makes it look really good. All right, so I would cut out all these other pieces and glue them on as well. Now, if I want to be able to see the words "I love coffee," how lightly I have it printed out right now, it will never work. So I'm actually going to press really, really hard onto here so that I can see my writing. And the writing is backwards and inside out. And you're probably asking me about this, so I'm going to show you. So not only are we going to glue that on in the middle, cut out all these other pieces and glue them on. And you're just going to use some Elmer's glue to glue them on. You want to glue them on pretty tight. So you want to definitely get the outside edges glued on like that. One. And then the handle, I have it on separately. See how it's sliding around like that? That's all right. You just don't want it sliding around when we use the ink, which it shouldn't if you have it all dry in time. And then I'm going to put that right there. I'm actually going to leave a tiny space because I think that will look really cool. And then I would glue on the other pieces. Now I'm going to show you a finished kind of project. So I did this already, and I did a different theme. I did art is alive, and I have the writing over here, and it's backwards. And any part that I wanted pressed in, like this little handle for the palette, I have pressed in. I also pressed in a few little lines over here to give it detail and the little paint splotches. So when I printed it, it looks like this. So it went from upside down to forward. You might say, how on earth is that possible? The reason why is because it's like a mirror. So if it's backwards and you print it like that, it comes off and it looks right on there, which is what our object is. So you will need to do the process of writing it down, flipping it over, rubbing it on to your draft, and then copying it onto here. Okay, I know that's a lot and that's been a little bit lengthy, but this is what my expectations for you of today is, that you will have a completed collagraph like this that has all of the pieces that you want glued on. You will also, like I said, need to glue on pieces over here. The spacing should be like this. You should have like tiny little crevices in between. The reason why is because then you get areas where it's not printed and the background color will show through. All right, until next time, let's get started.